YouTube, what's going on today, man? Listen, in today's video, we are looking at what could be the game changer. A GOAT might interview the GOAT. I don't know. I'm talking about Donald Trump going on the Joe Rogan Experience podcast, man. This has been talked about for a long time now. It looks like it might be coming to fruition. This will be the first time Joe Rogan ever has a presidential candidate on his podcast. So a lot of people are saying that this is going to be the nail in the coffin, DT 2024. You already know. If you like the video, be sure to like the video, man. And comment down low. Try to keep it civil. Who you voting for? I'm going today. I'll see you all in the next one. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Peace and love, gang. Nah. Good morning, chat. Good morning. Good afternoon.
That podcast host Joe Rogan will interview former President Trump.
Did you come on this podcast specifically to try to get me to interview Trump?
I think I'm doing it, actually.
Yeah? So you are going to do Joe Rogan?
Yeah, I am.
After years of speculation and back and forth.
This has got to be one of the most anticipated podcasts in the history. In history. In just history. Not even in just history.
Donald Trump finally announced plans to appear on the Joe Rogan Experience for what may become the most anticipated podcast of all time.
Doing a lot of podcasts recently. One that I would love to see you on is, I think Joe Rogan has to have you on.
Yeah.
Would you do that?
Oh, sure I would.
I think Joe, besides us, Joe's
I think I'm doing it, actually.
Yeah? So you are going to do Joe Rogan?
Yeah, I am.
That's going to be great. I think he should have had you on a long time ago because he's the best in the game, but...
Is he the best, really?
I think besides us and two other, Joe's the GOAT of the game.
Okay, so tell me, give us the order. Go ahead. What is it? Who's
Joe
the best?
Joe Rogan's the best in the game, for sure.
What was it that made Joe the best?
During COVID, he was very outspoken on all the corruption going on during COVID.
But just one day after this clip came out, new reports surfaced claiming Kamala Harris also intends to appear on the Joe Rogan Experience. This report has not yet been confirmed by Joe Rogan, but since...
Dude, this is insane, bro. Like podcasting and just... Like even streaming, you can throw it in there with podcasting, but just like this stuff has low-key just taken over, man. It's got a big chunk out of that mainstream butt, just took a big chunk out of it.
Since there is a physical clip of Donald Trump saying that he's going on the podcast versus just a third-party report about Kamala Harris, most of this video will focus on the possibility with Trump. Although it does make sense for Joe Rogan to want to have both candidates on his program, as in the past he'd been resistant to the idea
some crazy
of having
pressure
just Trump
too
on,
for Joe,
out
man.
of fear that the former president would only use his massive platform to push his own agenda. But more recently, Joe did admit that stance was starting to change.
So when you're having Trump on?
I don't know.
Okay. The look.
I don't know. Maybe.
Looks like you got something.
Maybe.
Okay, good. That's good. I think that's...
look, at a certain point in time.
If this podcast really does happen, there are a few things we can hope are non-negotiables. One being that hopefully this podcast would last more than 2 hours, as pretty much every podcast with a presidential candidate so far has been strictly 60 minutes or less, outside of Donald Trump doing 90 minutes on Flagrant.
In this situation, they say you have an hour, you probably have around 45 minutes.
Yes.
We ended up going for an hour and a half because he was having a really fun time, and his team was telling us we gotta wrap it up, and I would look at them, and then I would just look away.
Yeah.
They weren't gonna walk into the interview. I told Dove in the beginning of the
I look at them, I look away.
Yeah. We are gonna keep going until...
It's like when your parents tell you gotta leave when you're a kid, and you're like...
Donald Trump tells us this interview is over. Okay? He's the man in charge. Yeah. Dove is so smart. He could have sat on the side with the Trump team. He goes to the other side so they can't talk to him, and then he does this. Before we start, he goes, everybody, put your phone on airplane mode. Oh! Now, I didn't pick it up in the beginning, right?
Genius!
The airplane mode is... Oh, you were texting me?
They
I didn't even
text him. Wrap it up.
I know we have a limited time, but important thing.
How are we doing so far?
You're doing great.
You're doing amazing. So they're making us wrap up. We want you for a long time.
I'll bet it's my people. I do have other things, but
I know you're busy,
how interesting is this, though?
Oh! This video is proudly sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. Make your predictions this weekend on NFL and college football, maybe even NBA full swing. You can predict the stats of individual players. You can put them together for your best chance to win up to 1,000 times your bet. But you can only do that by using code MFAM. Now back to the video.
See, this is the fun
It
stuff.
is, man. It is.
He's an
He's a good kid.
influencer.
Yeah,
he's a
yeah.
good kid.
You know, I asked him, and I wasn't.
Oh, you're not telling him he's got
I
time
said,
now.
give him a little more time? What the hell? Can I override Alex? I don't know. Yeah. Unlike Biden.
Oh, they were kind of
he can't.
chirping at his.
I can say, Alex, I'm doing it. He said, thank you, sir. No, Biden said, they turn the cameras off.
chirping.
This guy. Do you ever see it? The cameras are off, the lights go off everywhere. Because you see, he's a deep job. We're in no
That's
job.
funny.
With how important this job is, I'm not sure why we don't force presidential candidates to go on podcasts for like 6 hours at a time. Joe Rogan's biggest past political interview was with Bernie Sanders, which was just 1 hour long and
be
focused
wild.
mainly on Bernie's favorite ranting points and bread and butter topics. The same playbook used by Kamala Harris on Call Her Daddy. It's also pretty obvious a lot of the time with Trump and Rogan would be taken up talking UFC, which is another reason to keep both these episodes on the longer end so they have time for the inevitable conversations to take place, while still leaving plenty of room for Joe Rogan to get deep into the weeds about aliens or classified documents surrounding government conspiracies, topics like the moon landing or JFK, basically all of the things right up Rogan's wheelhouse that made
Who
his
wins in a
podcast
fight,
so
a grizzly
popular
bear
in
or
the
a
first
gorilla?
place.
It would be interesting to hear his perspective on a lot of things. I would like to know, what is it like when you actually get into office? I would like to know things like, what is it like versus perception? What is it actually like when you get in that building? Like, what are you greeted with? When do you know that people are f***ing with you? When do you know that the intelligence agency is lying to you? Like, when you decided to fire Comey, what was the thought? How much did you know? What's the machine like? What is the deep state really like? Really like? What is the machine that runs this country? Because it's very clear that it's not as simple as elected representatives that are doing the will of the people. It's not.
Knowing that these are the sorts of topics
you're not
Joe
gonna get
Rogan
those
has
answers
on
on
his
a
mind
podcast,
makes
I
it
don't think.
very hard to believe they would ever let Kamala Harris go one-on-one with Joe Rogan for very long. And after seeing Donald Trump answer both serious and funny questions on Flagrant for an hour and a half, it seems more believable that he would be the one to fully open up on JRE for a quality episode. And not only did Donald Trump have plenty of funny comments of his own,
Tampon Tim was good. What about
The
is that?
problem with tampon, Tim, it's hard to say.
Yeah.
In other words,
It's a mouthful.
it's a lot.
Yeah.
Tampon. And you can't stutter it through when you call it. It's really a lousy word to say.
Yeah.
But it's quite accurate, right? There are some, like Comrade Kamala. It's a little hard to say. She's comrade because she's obviously a communist.
Yeah.
She's horrible. So I call her comrade.
Horrible.
And it's not bad. But when you put the names together, it's a little, you got to be able to pume. No, you got to be able to put it out there.
but he was also able to laugh at the jokes made at his expense.
Can I ask you a question?
Getting the word out, right?
About Elon specifically, is he your favorite African American?
He's a piece of work, I'll tell you. You know, he's a great guy.
Tell me this situation. Okay. Barron is 18. He's handsome. He's
Yeah.
tall.
Yeah.
He's rich.
He's got the whole ball.
He's unleashed in New York City.
He's tall, he's
Are
rich.
you sure you want to reverse Roe v. Wade now?
Dude.
I mean, maybe give him a few years, you know.
Well,
get
you know,
his-
it's up to the
Holy
states. Man.
shit.
It's up to the states because I believe in exceptions and all of the different things.
You've been vocal about that.
I always refer him back to the simplicity of McDonald's. She lied about McDonald's. She lied about many things, and she's a liar. There should be some kind of a rule when they know it's a lie, you can't do a commercial on it. But this is a thing that's going to end in 29 days, so they can say what they want. I have a hard time doing it to them because I'm basically a truthful person. But frankly,
like we said earlier, technically this information has only been confirmed by Trump himself. But with the amount of discourse around this podcast in the past, this would be a wild thing for Donald Trump to say without any plans in place. Although Joe Rogan's name being brought up in back-to-back interviews could be the type of thing that would have led to him just making that claim out of the blue. And Kamala's team hearing him say this could have caused them to leak the story about her appearance the next morning as a feeler.
We would love to have Kamala on.
There you go. You have
we
her.
reached out to her team, and they're not really enthusiastic.
Yeah.
They don't listen to the show.
Why.
I don't know why. What?
I thought she was a patron.
I do think it's likely that we'll see a Trump JRE episode sometime this week and a Kamala Harris episode to follow.
Kamala's gonna
And
go on the
assuming
Andrew
both these
Schultz
podcasts will
podcast.
take place in studio, the real interesting question becomes if either of them would do Kill Tony. Tony. Knowing that Joe Rogan likes to drag some
right.
of his most famous guests straight from his podcast to Kill Tony, if they are recording on a Monday, there could be a chance, especially more so with Trump.
He had no idea he was going on stage. He's just finding out right now.
We were literally at dinner, and he's like, I want to show you my new place. And we're standing backstage, and I didn't know I was coming out until I heard my name.
We call that the old Post Malone right there. We've done this before.
We did the Post Malone, the same thing.
Let me know in the comments what you think of seeing the real Donald Trump on Kill Tony. You'd think they'd have to set it up with Shane Gillis's Trump and someone else's Kamala for the beginning, and then have the real Trump walk out just like they did at MSG with Joe Rogan. Or maybe Donald Trump will also stop by Matt and Shane's secret podcast while he's in town. But whatever happens next, we'll be right here at Joke World to keep you in the loop with daily comedy news. Like, for instance, did you know that Shane Gillis passed on being Trump for every episode this season of SNL? I bet you might have if you subscribe to the main channel, or maybe an exclusive interview with Tim Dillon all about his Netflix special show kind of thing. Did you know about that? Same thing, if you subscribe to the main channel, you know everything there is to know, and you're a smart guy, or girl, or...
Nope.
Nope. He's the fucking man, dude.
Don't do it. Don't do it now.